when you finally understand what blameless postmortems are. So now you understand the concept behind a site reliability engineer, SLIs, SLOs, toil and error budget. If you're not watching those videos, do that first. Fail fast, learn fast, but don't fail twice for the same reason. We told you to embrace failure, right? But now you're upset. You have to conduct the postmortem because of a failure. Well, you're failing at following our DevSecOps principles, right? Failure is a good thing. It's an opportunity to learn and grow. The later part of fail fast, learn fast, but don't fail twice for the same reason is obviously the hardest. But how do you make sure you are actually learning and ensuring the problem does not happen again? That's where postmortems, and more importantly, how to properly enable that blameless culture, is essential to that critical foundational goal. So what should you collect to conduct those postmortems? So let's take a look at the postmortems data point. First, like we discussed, you have to make them blameless. That means, of course, everybody must be able to be open and share their story and what they've seen and what they've done, and not fear of repercussions. Second, you want to collect the right information from the team. What was affected? Who was involved in the incident and its response? The timeline, including how did you get notified? When did the response begin? How did we solve the issues, both in terms of mitigations that might be temporary, long-term fixes? When did the incident end? Did we get lucky? And each separate point of failure that could have been mitigated. You want to find if the problem could have been prevented by having a defense in depth. So multiple things will have to happen for this to get as bad as what it got to. This data is essential to be able to measure some of the most critical metrics, such as mean time to recovery. Ideally, you would want to leverage some collaborative wiki solutions to enable each team member to participate and provide their inputs and share how they have witnessed the events and their thoughts on how to prevent it. And of course, how to improve the system for the long term. That's why a planning lead role is so essential during these events, so they can try to keep track of all that information in real time instead of trying to piece them back together after the event. You also need to track temporary mitigations such as resizing memory or hard drives, and understand the cost and the medium long-term impact for those if you have to revert them back or keep them as it is. Now, the foundation is really about blameless culture to ensure that teams feel like they won't be blamed or fired for the incident, so they can open up and truly share what happened, so no one is trying to put their hands in the sand or divert attention elsewhere. Organizations must see these events as a learning opportunity to improve their reliability and reduce their toil. It's also important to realize that most issues, just like plane crashes, are often more complex than a single root cause. It's often a lot of small things that have to go wrong and in the cascading effects, and a lot of small mistakes to make something a really big deal. For that reason, it's essential to keep track of every minor detail that happens so you can go back and ideally think of several mitigations that could have prevented the incident at multiple points. Effectively, defining multiple safeguards, just like with the principle of multiple layers of cybersecurity to prevent a cyber breach. You don't rely on just one layer to prevent it. You have multiple layers that a malicious actor must go through to get to your crown jewels. Same concept here. How many things could you put in place to prevent this problem from happening again? At the same time, you must be very careful not to start behaving like the United States government, which effectively overreacts every time something goes wrong and every time there's an issue, and creating more and more policies and regulations, effectively creating massive bottlenecks to get things done. You end up slowing down your velocity so much that you're unable to compete any longer. The remedy is worse than the initial problem. I often argue that we waste 60 cents on a dollar spent of taxpayer money in the DoD just due to nonsensical acquisition regulations. The solution has been worse than the problem of waste. Ideally, all mitigations would be entirely automated, wouldn't create additional choke points, and mitigation should be layered to prevent the problem from happening again at multiple layers of prevention. You certainly should be leveraging incident response tools and issue trackers so you can keep track of each action and mitigation taken. Tag each mitigation as a post-mortem learned action so that you can keep track of its effectiveness and implementation and know for a fact that failures don't happen twice. What if you don't even know something already happened? You need to know that to make sure you're not making the same mistakes again and again. Finally, in your post-mortem conclusion, you must be able to track not just the bad, but also what went well, and maybe even how you got lucky when it could have been much more worse. You will also be able to learn from preventing worse situations in the future. We need to find a way to have proper motivators for your team members who perform well. I'm not talking about equity here, but on the contrary, rewarding people who went above and beyond to get the issue resolved. But let's face it, you will face use cases where problems keep happening and team members refuse to learn. In that case, it is still acceptable to consider replacing those individuals. Don't fail twice for the same reason. If they don't take it seriously, you need to take action as well. There you have it. Enabling a blameless post-mortem culture and tracking proper data from your incident is essential to increase your DevSecOps maturity and ensure that you can fail fast, learn fast, but don't fail twice for the same reasons. That's how you know that you are truly a DevSecOps organization.